DAOstack, an operating system for collective intelligence. And here we'll discuss about why DAOs, why do we even need DAOs, and then why DAOstack of all the DAO platforms. After that, we'll go into details of how our stack works, and finally, we will look into the hacker kit presented by DAOstack and just deploy a DAO and get a DApp launched. So, getting started. Why do we need DAO? Clearly, we can see the traditional organizations that we have, they don't work as well in the changing times of our new organizations, our shared economy, and the global problems like climate change and stuff. So we need something better. We need DAOs. What are DAOs? Decentralized autonomous organizations. Give me a sec. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Yeah.
It's still the presentation screen, right?
That's right.
Okay. So just a sec. I'm having difficulty changing the screen. Just one sec. Right. So yeah. So as I said, we need something better. We need DAOs, organizations that are tailor-made for the age of our information revolution. But let's start with what are these DAOs. So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, which is not owned by anyone, but collectively managed by the people. It is adaptable to fast-changing times and to change the new problems. It is scalable to run at global scale without losing the decentralized aspect. And it is resilient from attacks and is able to recover quickly without losing any of the above qualities. So with blockchain and global consensus mechanism, we can now collaborate and coordinate at a scale that has never been possible in the history. Now to get to that consensus while everybody being scattered all over the planet is just 15 seconds. That's incredible. So coming to why DAOstack. So at DAOstack, we wanted to be able to launch DAOs while having full control over structural elements of the organization. So we built our stack such that it is modular. The governance structure is made of small building blocks where you can easily add, combine, edit, or just remove any mechanism. So and hence there's no redeployment required. Once all these different kinds of voting machines, the actions a DAO can take, all these things have been deployed, all you need to do is reference them as in your from the library, right? So that saves the storage and the cost of operation. And it also enhances the security by reducing the attack surfaces. Also, a DAOstack DAO is adaptive. So as the new modules get deployed to the blockchain, that could be either by the third parties or the DAOstack team itself, or just any open source dev. These can be new templates and can be the DAO can just upgrade to using these new templates without being redeployed. So that's why it's adaptive. It might not have certain features initially, but then you can just be oh, this is a nice scheme. You can just register those new actions to your DAO, and boom, now your old DAO has new functionalities. Also, a DAOstack DAO is upgradable. Each DAO that we'll deploy with the DAOstack comes with certain set of rules that include how to change the current rules. So you basically have like rules to upgrade the rules itself. And lastly, it is scalable. So in DAOstack, we use something called holographic consensus mechanism, where as you see, like as there are thousands and millions of people joining the DAO, it's really hard to focus on the top proposals and or like everybody to like actually vote in the DAO. So what we do in case of holographic consensus, we have a network of predictors that can stake on the proposal itself to like boost. So otherwise, if a proposal in the DAO needs absolute majority to pass, now that it has been staked, like someone is putting their reputation and their gen tokens. The gen is the DAOstack's utility token. So since they've staked their gen tokens, this proposal can pass with relative majority and also in like shorter duration of time. And then you can think of like as our network grows, the top level DAO can have other DAOs as its reputation holders who can vote on inside the DAO, and then these DAOs itself has like further like individual people or more DAOs. So we have this level, and since like the vote from one single DAO is actually coming by like at the lowest level from the individual people, there is still like that democracy like maintained. So that's why DAOstack DAO. Let's get into the overview of our stack. So as you can see, at the lowest level, like at the blockchain level, we have like 3 layers. First is the bottom layer is infra, where you have like the basic building blocks of our DAO. These could be like, let's say you don't want to use entire DAOstack's architecture, you can just pick modules from infra layer and basically plug them in any other DAO system as well. So there we have reputation and the logic for our voting machine, which currently we are using Genesis protocol. And it has like other voting machines as well. On top of it is Arc, which is our smart contract library to create and manage DAOs. So here you can, we'll discuss in detail like the structure of Arc layer soon. Above Arc is Archive, which will be like curated list of DAOs. This is a shared registry. So let's say you want to curate a list of like all the DAOs related to retail related stuff. So then you can have this registry where people can try to like get their DAO listed, and if by the consensus mechanism it passes, then it gets registered in the Hive. So anyone looking for like the best retail DAOs can just go there, and so on. Then on top of this blockchain layer, we have our caching service, which is for quick access to the blockchain data. It is built on the Graph protocol. And yeah, you can host your subgraphs on Graph protocol. I guess the Graph is a really cool project. We'll discuss about it in a minute. And lastly, we have our client library. This is a JavaScript library. You can use it to interact with our caching layer so that you can read the blockchain data. And you can also use it directly with the Arc layer to interact with the blockchain and change its state and write to the blockchain. And at the top level, we have dApps. One of the dApp launched by the DAOstack team is Alchemy, which is basically is an interface to all the DAOs that have been deployed by DAOstack. And yeah, you can create a proposal from there and browse the schemes registered with the DAO. We can take a look into Alchemy interface in a bit. So coming to the arc structure. So any DAO deployed with DAOs, just like, are you guys following it? Please stop me if like there are just raised hand, or like, let me know if you have any questions. +1. Okay. So yeah, I was even. Hey guys, just a little feedback. If you're following, do you like it? Yeah.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So our arc structure, any DAO that we'll deploy with DAOstack will have this arc structure. Where our schemes are, you can think of as actions a DAO can take. Like, think of it like the arms of a DAO. One arm allows DAO to just distribute the funds automatically if the proposal passes. Another arm could just allow to maybe tweet on the Twitter or peep on Pipit if the proposal passes, and one arm can allow to raise a CDP on MakerDAO. And you can pick and choose like which schemes you want your DAO to have, basically which functionalities or actions you want your DAO to be able to take. Then we have global constraints. Yeah, global constraints are the constraints basically that has to be followed at all times. So you can have something like is human constraint, where no matter from which scheme a proposal is passing, it always has to be like the proposer has to be a human. You can have like is a human contract where people can register to prove that they are human, and yeah, so a global constraint has to be always like followed by any of the schemes. Then we have a voting machine, which could be like absolute, that you need like 51 or more % to pass. You can have quorum. You can set like the threshold at if this much percentage of votes you acquire, but yeah, the proposal passes are relative. So voting machine is basically like what consensus mechanism do you want for your scheme, and you can basically register any voting machine for any of the schemes. And voting machine here is taking, it's like the Genesis protocol logic, which we are using in DAOstack's first Genesis Alpha DAO, is coming from infra. So those are like the pluggable components that we get from our like the base layer. And finally, controller is our, like, you can think of it as access control module, which keeps record of the schemes that you register through the DAO, the constraints, and the voting machine that these schemes are using. And then it also maintains the like avatar address, reputation token, or reputation and token. Now coming back to these, like what is avatar? Avatar is the face of the DAO. So this is where like it holds all the funds, and this is what takes actions on behalf of the DAO. So any of these schemes, but like let's say a proposal passes and that proposal leads into opening up a MakerDAO CDP, it's the DAO avatar's address from which that transaction to the MakerDAO protocol will go. So that's like the face of the avatar, face of the DAO. And Reputation is native to the DAO. So every DAO on DAOstack platform has its own reputation token. It is like basic ERC20 token, just with the difference that reputation is non-transferable, and also it can be taken back or awarded by the DAO. Again, we are getting our reputation contract from the base component layer infra, and it is, again, if you don't like how our reputation thing works, you want the reputation to be transferable or anything like that, you can just go ahead, change the reputation system and use that in your DAO. And then token is again native to the DAO. It is a basic ERC20 token, which can be any use in your DAO. Like it could be if you are using DAO for an ICO, DICO, then that could be the token distributed based on some curve. It could have some internal like logic, maybe supported as a equity to the DAO reputation holder or the members of the DAO. So yeah, you can be creative about how you use these tokens. Any questions regarding like the structure of the DAO?
No questions.
Okay. All right. So Cache is a remote service, and it enables fast read access. So basically, all the blockchain events are stored in the caching layer, the subgraph layer, which we just saw over here. And infra is the basic module.
Sorry, Shivani, I do have a question actually.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to like say write a proposal for the moves I want to make for like Cheeze Wizards, let's say I want like a certain sequence, and maybe there's like a Cheeze Wizard. I don't know if it could be governed by like a DAO in some, or not, maybe. Yeah, could a Cheeze Wizard be governed by a DAO, do you think? Like, would that be possible?
Something like based on what all the wizards like vote, whether all the wizards vote on something or not, you take an action, right? Is that what you kind of?
Or you could like for every proposal, for every time you duel a Cheeze Wizard, you would basically put a proposal up so that all of the decisions, like every move that this Cheeze Wizard is making is basically made a decision through a proposal, and everyone kind of collectively agrees on it.
Yeah, so you can have, for that you'll basically just write your own custom scheme, and then you can submit a proposal to the DAO where like the proposal would have like, okay, if it passes, this would be the outcome. And then there's something called generic scheme, which can basically can be used for interacted with any protocol, or yeah, you can just like based on the voting machine, if the result of the voting machine is like the winning outcome is yes, then something gets executed.
So those schemes could be something like an AWS instance or something?
So schemes are our smart contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Is it clear or?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. So this is how. Okay. So you can say my terminal. Okay, I've already cloned it, and I'm in the starter template. Here you'll have to fill, like once you've cloned the repo, just do npm install. It's already been done from my end. While that's happening, we'll have to change a .n file where we can set the network. Right now, I'm doing it on private network, but the same script can be used for deploying to testnet or mainnet. So I do have a video of like deploying this to testnet on YouTube that I can share the link with you guys. So once that's done, you'll have to update this. So this is the DAO spec file. It's in data folder where we can set the name of our DAO, the token and token name and its symbol. We can set whether we want to use universal controller or not. So if we decide to use universal controller, it will just use a pre-deployed controller. But if we end up setting it to false, then remember, like here, this controller that we were using, which basically registered schemes and stuff, it will deploy a new controller for our DAO. So I'm gonna set universal controller to false and deploy a new controller. Then Dow Creator is something like you can think of a contract that basically bundles up the transaction. So in general, since each DAO has this actor, reputation, token, reputation, and avatar as like separate contracts. So these three contracts get deployed. So if you use Dow Creator, it bundles up the transaction to deploy these contracts in one single transaction. And also up to 100 founders can be set in that one single transaction. Like multiple transactions get sent as the number of like members, if you have more number of founder members. And founder members are just the members who get reputation initially. You can choose how much reputation they want get and what are the tokens you want to reward. So another thing is you can do like you can pre-decide this, or you can there are schemes that you can register to your DAO and use like lock tokens to reward reputation. So something like that can be used, or if you want some different mechanism for awarding reputation, you can use that too. Contribution reward is a scheme where someone submits a proposal to the DAO and gets rewarded, whether in ETH or some other token for their contribution. And since I've not set any like parameters here, basically it's going to use the voting machine parameters on the first 0th index. Otherwise, you can like have multiple. Since, as I said, each scheme can use a different voting machine, different consensus mechanism. So you can have multiple voting machine parameters set, and for each scheme, you can basically mention at which index, which voting machine parameters you want to use. Like I've just, in this example, added only single element here and using only the same one for contribution as well as scheme register, the 0th index one. So voting machine parameters basically lets you set something like for how long a proposal is open for voting, or let's say like how much would you need to, or like what would be the threshold for staking for a proposal to get boosted and be able to pass with relative majority, or after getting boosted, how long a proposal is open for like accepting votes, or something like activation times. Let's say you want to just launch the DAO right now, but you want it to be like active and start accepting proposals after a week. You can do something like that. And lastly, we're just setting like schemes here. So I'll be using contribution reward and scheme registrar. Scheme registrar, okay, yeah, that the scheme registrar is another scheme which basically lets you register and propose for like new schemes to be registered to the DAO. And yeah, so this way you can add more actions for your DAO once the DAO is already deployed. And in upgrade screen, you can basically mention like the rules for upgrading the DAO. So these are what I'm setting here right now. Once I've done that, I just have to do npm run launch Docker. So I'll actually give you an overview of what's exactly happening. So I have two Docker Compose files in this template. One is for like the private net development, which starts a React container, one container which has like the React front-end app that you can develop on. Then Graph Node, it also starts like Graph Node locally. Then it has Ganache service. That's the main difference. It starts a private testnet, a private chain. And then we have IPFS because all the mapping logic, like when events are generated on blockchain, they are stored in the Postgres database, but the logic of how they are stored is there in IPFS. And then lastly is a Postgres container. Similarly, I have another Docker Compose testnet file, which is basically same, just have Ethereum address to be, Ethereum node to be like the rim could be here, or it could be mainnet one. And it does not have Ganache container that's getting started. So you can see these containers are created. I can even check for logs Ganache. Wait, what? Ooh, there's some problem here. Okay, so for some reason my containers didn't start. Let's see. Problems when you're doing this stuff live. Limitations of created DAOstack DAO contracts in terms of consensus or restriction. So if I'm getting it right, you're asking what consensus mechanisms are not allowed in the DAOstack DAO? Hello? Yeah, so as I said, you can pick and choose what consensus mechanism you want. Right now, DAOstack has deployed a Genesis protocol consensus mechanism, and it also has like absolute vote consensus mechanism and quorum vote deployed. But you're free, like that you can deploy your own new contract and just like add that and register that to your DAO. So there's no restriction as such, like it's just those contracts doesn't exist right now and you're free to deploy them. Does that answer your question? Okay. I'm gonna try again. So it sometimes does that. I don't know. Sometimes the scripts time out and the container doesn't start. But yeah, I might have to like increase the time there or something. But if that happens, I'll just suggest you for now, like restart it. And yeah, you'll need Docker to be installed to use this right now. If you do not have Docker, I can give you a walkthrough of like migration script and how you can deploy it without Docker too. But so it will take a little while while running for the first time because it builds the image and the images are a little big. Oh my goodness, why does it keep timing out? What's wrong? Oh. Okay, this was working just a couple minutes ago. Give me a sec. I'm gonna pause.
I tried this morning and it was working. It was not going to time out. I have some troubles after that with some transactions, but the Docker launch was perfectly fine. So no idea.
Yeah, I tried just before. So, okay. Actually, so I have this video recorded. I'm gonna share that, but it could be like I might have like some port issue right now. So give me a sec. I hope that's fine.
I did see a typo, like with Rinky B or something in your file, but I'm not sure if that would have anything to do with it.
Oh, let's see.
You spelled Rinky B like with Rinkeyby or something like that. As like a key.
But I'm using the other compose.
All right.
Right. So I actually had this. Oh, can you see my terminal right now?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Oh. So I'm going to just try this one more time. Let's see if pruning this container like really works or not.
I'm trying to run it, and it seems that I don't have permission for the starter template image, but I think it's not related.
Wait.
From the repo of the image.
I'm not sure what just happened. Oh goodness. And if I try to, somehow I can't even like play the video that I have recorded earlier. And yeah, you're right. Like because image in this repo, I'm like, it is making it locally. So it's building the image locally with the file. So we're building, like, yeah, before we actually like build the ganache image and all these images. So I'm not sure like the permission error with using the image.
No, my fault. I was doing the Docker Compose. I was not using npm. I was not using the script to build before, so just my fault.
Yeah.
Let me try.
So I don't know if this is because my localhost has issues. Well, like it could be that. So if I give me a sec. It's taking forever to load. I'm sorry guys, I tried these video and I've never played this video done this live with Zoom. I think it's just taking like time to like launch, and that's why it's timing out.
Should be fine. You said you got a video of this exact process, right, Shivani?
Yeah, I do have the video. It's on YouTube as well. So, but if I just try to like play the video while I'm like on the screen, sharing the screen, that video doesn't really play.
Do you want to try and open it on YouTube?
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to do. So,
Okay, perfect.
So let's go a little back. So, okay, this is, can you see my screen right now of the video playing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna forward it to where it actually like ends up. Yeah, so here you can see I have, once the DAO is deployed, you'll get the address of avatar and reputation token that got deployed, and the DAO token contract that got deployed, and the controller's address. And if you were deploying the custom scheme, there will be a custom scheme as well over here right after this. And this is again deployment on like localhost. So yeah, once you've got those things done, you should be, you'll have to change the environment file in the subgraph folder, because we're going to deploy a local, on the local graph node, a subgraph as well for indexing. And there you just have to set network private, subgraph name could be anything. I've set it to DAOstack, and this Postgres password is same as the password we set in Docker Compose file in the Postgres image. And Ethereum node is localhost here, but the same thing can work basically for, testnet. You just have to set network as testnet and the network Ethereum node there, right? Yeah, the password is same. Yeah, and Ethereum node will change it to drinkb or mainnet Infura, or if you're running your own Ethereum node, then that URL. So you can decide on that. But for now, we'll play with the local host. Yeah, and then from the same starter template folder, we'll run deploy graph, which will, while that is doing, you can see in this subgraph folder, our graph schema. So these will be the entities in the subgraph. So yeah, we'll deploy, and these are the details of the contracts that just got deployed, because all the base contracts of ARC, which are DAO registry gen, controller, Dow Creator, and the generic scheme and stuff, these has been already deployed by DAO, but during, while doing the setup in the private net, Ganache, we're going to redeploy the base layer 2, and then we're deploying our DAO. But if you use testnet or mainnet, you don't have to deploy any of these base contracts, so that cost is saved, which is good.
They are deployed in Drinkb only, or or also
They
in
are
some other?
deployed on all testnets, Co1, Rinkeby, and what else? There's one, Co1, Rinkeby, and
Corley,
they're
that's
based,
also good.
I think not Gurley. We didn't do Gurley, but there's one more, right? It's, wow, it's just the third testnet, which Robson.
Robson, yeah.
Yeah. So all three testnets and then mainnet, yeah. We'll fast forward it to, so then you can go to your localhost subgraph and then localhost 3000, which will be your React app interface. This is how a common GraphQL query would look like. And when you execute it, you can see that right now we just have one DAO with this ID and name, and proposals is empty because we haven't done any proposals. But as we create more DAOs, we get more DAOs there, and now we're gonna. And this is a very simple, basic UI, so like just for you to start with, and yeah, you can develop. This was basically to show the simple functionality. So we're going to submit a first proposal. So here I'm doing contribution reward proposal. So in this UI, I had hard-coded the scheme, but it basically for any scheme that you'll use. So let's say for the Cheeze Wizard thing related, the scheme we just talked about. So if you have that Cheeze Wizard scheme, you could basically choose what all kind of parameters your scheme really requires to function, and then you submit those, enter those parameters, and then submit the proposal. Beneficiary is here the account that will be rewarded if this proposal passes, and ETH reward is going to be the reward this person is going to get, and we are also rewarding some reputation if this proposal passes. So we've submit the proposal. Yeah. Wait, what's happening? Oh yeah, since my DAO didn't have that much money, I think I just like reduced that. So now we submit the proposals and the transaction. It will pop up the MetaMask screen. So this 6ED, which you saw, was the address of contribution reward, because the proposal is submitted to the contribution reward scheme, which in background, like if you look at the contract logic, is using Genesis protocol voting machine. But again, you can decide which voting machine you want to use. And boom, we have this proposal submitted. I displayed this proposal ID, but yeah, you can make it better and have a proper proposal URL or title. And then only the people who have reputation in the DAO currently can vote. So initially it will be the founder members who will get the voting power in the DAO. But as we saw, like in that proposal, anyone can submit the proposal firstly, and then in that proposal they ask for reputation. So if the proposal passes, we then will have a new member of the DAO. So you saw there we had our first demo proposal, but it doesn't have any votes. So we are going to go and vote on this. This is voting again from our founder members account. So here, if someone else tries to do it, the vote will just fail and not register. Also, again, it is not shown in the UI. You can do something like you have, let's say, 5% rep, but you just want to use 2% of your rep to vote on certain proposal. So in vote, you can mention the amount of your reputation you want to use. I kept this UI a little simple, but those are the details. And this obviously depends on the contribution reward had this option of adding like partial voting, but again, you could make your new scheme, Cheeze Wizards scheme, which only requires. Oh, okay, that wizard that only requires the full voting. So that was it from my end. How to deploy this DAO. Have any questions, guys?
You did all that with the client library.
Sorry?
You did all that with the
Client library, the kit, or did you use that using like just Web3?
I was using the client library in this example. I can share my screen and show you the client library.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I'm thinking
It'd be cool if you could get control over a Cheeze Wizard so that when a proposal passes, you can like make it do an action, or you can submit all of the moves. And then like if people don't like that move, maybe they can like stake against it, and maybe there'll be like some sort of secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll have to write a custom scheme, and yes, you can do that. Like you can have a DAO vote on the move that you want to be executed in Cheeze Wizard. And the only thing is, if you are using a client library that basically has like the Web3 interaction for our contracts that we've deployed, or basically we've been using. So in that case, you'll have to write the JavaScript wrappers to interact with your contract yourself. Does that answer?
yeah, I was
Just wondering, because I'd have to dig through the code a bit because I'm actually using React Native.
Yeah, so I can show so this is how, again, this will work for the contracts that we've been using so far, but you can use this for, to understand how we interact with our contracts and stuff. But if you're using this client library, we're just setting our settings to either like dev or testnet, providing this would be our graph's name. So if you have changed your graph's name while deploying subgraph, this is going to be changed. And that's GraphQL WebSocket provider. Then Web3 provider would be your Infura thing. And then in both cases, I was running IPFS locally, but you could be running it on an AWS server. So you'll have to get that thing. And it's just very simple. Like the client library makes it very straightforward. So to create your proposal, you just do DAO.create proposals. I'll show you what our proposal parameters were like. So our proposal parameters for contribution reward were simple description, title, URL, beneficiary, and the reward that you want to be rewarded. And stake amount here is by default. I'm just setting if someone hits stake, how much stake will be there. But you can set Also, one thing. Wait. So actually, yeah, this in master, I've not updated that README, but if you not the hacker kit, because to set the voting machine parameters, the parameter name is not very intuitive. So to understand like what parameters you get to set, and how to customize DAO branch, I've updated the README for in starter template where I've described the like details of like how these voting parameters are used, and this branch is still not ready, so I haven't been merged, but in case you're wondering what these weird parameters are about, this is where you can find them. Any other questions, guys?
One question about the starter kit, the part of the ops. For what is used the private key and the seed phrase in the .env in the case of Ganache? Because as I saw, the npm run launch Docker will build the image first, including the .env in the container, but then which key is not used the accounts by default in Ganache, or I'm not so clear about that.
Oh, so if you see this, this is our migrations. You can find detail of this DAOstack migration repository. This is basically just a tool for deploying our contracts, and that's where we are using our private key. So this is the account.
My point is after the building of the image is running the Ganache, and the Ganache has the accounts, the predefined accounts with the funds, with the fake funds. But is it used that the first address as deployer, or I was not completely clear about that. Which address is using to deploy this migration, because I didn't.
Yes. So in starter template, I set the .env file right here, and this key is what I'm getting from the .env process.env. So this will be used to deploy the avatar, the reputation contract, the token contract, and yeah. Does that
okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, but I think I will also take a look at the DAOstack migration, because my point is more about how the private key is allocated with funds in Ganache. If the .env.
Oh, okay. How?
I was not explaining myself. Sorry.
Okay, so to be honest, I didn't write that part, but
I saw it was working, so I didn't make so much attention. But I was thinking, why this is working?
Yeah, because when you do npm run Ganache, it basically uses DAOstack's migration and runs Ganache from there. And if you dig in deep, like, yeah, we are setting up the contract, setting up these accounts, and also giving them gen tokens. So that's another reason we would advise you to use this in the testnet versus just starting your own Ganache testnet, because then you would not have the gen tokens allocated to your accounts, and so on.
Okay, thanks.
Another thing, it's a little hacky, because of some little error in our migration. I would suggest you to while running the testnet, just use the private key of the first account that gets set up in our Ganache image to deploy your DAO, because we just introduced the archive layer, and it's still under testing, and we accidentally, like, while releasing the package, a hard-coded registry to be deployed from that account. And so, yeah, registering to that registry fails on migration. Yeah. So, long story short, you just use the first account to deploy your DAO.
The migration is not using truffle. It's just using what is used.
Yeah, migration is not really using truffle. You can see the details of migration code here.
Okay.
We're basically sending the transactions ourselves to just deploy them. And in the migration repo itself, there is details of how to deploy custom scheme as well. So this part, no, where did it go? Yeah, so you can set the name of your custom scheme where basically you set Cheeze Wizard, and then universal schemes are just basically following a universal pattern, and it has set parameters. Otherwise, one thing, if in non-universal scheme also, you should have an initialize, not ed, initialize function, which will initialize the parameters of your scheme and also register the avatar to which the scheme belongs. And yeah. So you can set that and then whatever parameters you want to have.
All right, folks, do we have any more questions? I think if we have any more questions, obviously this is recorded. I've had some trouble recording in between because my laptop had shut down. So I'm not sure if we'll have the complete recording, but whatever we have, we'll definitely upload on YouTube. And then if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to relay it over to Shivani, and then she can just answer that for you. But thanks a lot, Shivani, for your time. We really appreciate you going through all the hoops to get the code to work. That's really appreciated. And thanks everyone for joining in for this call.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Day.
Bye.